Hello and welcome to episode 165 of Glitch Report. My name is GnittWitt. Thank you so much for stopping by, saying hi, kicking with me today on the stream of dreams, the show of shows, and everything in between. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree. That is linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt. I am on Twitch, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. This podcast is also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Oh my God. Valve just announced a bunch of hardware to kick off the stream today. I was, going through news. Oh, I forgot about, the Mario movie. We'll put that in there and stuff like that for show topics today. And then they just announced a bunch of shit, man. Oh boy, where do we even begin? So I don't even this the news story is so raw that I don't even have a lot of news articles to go off of. I'm sure everyone's racing to talk about this, writing up news and stuff like that. But oh man, okay. Well, actually, you know what? Shout out to IGN for getting this stuff up so I can kind of just reference that and just scrolling through the page. Here's what we have. Valve has announced, Valve, the makers of Steam, have announced a couple of different pieces of hardware, 3 new devices to be exact. So let's kind of go through them right now and talk about what Valve has announced. The first thing that Valve has announced is a Steam machine. It is a small gaming computer, basically. We'll get into details and stuff in a moment, but basically they announced a Steam machine, a standalone tiny gaming PC. They announced a new Steam controller. They have also announced a new next-gen virtual reality headset called Steam Frame. Got that? That's all the things that they announced, okay? If we head on over and we take a look at the Steam machine here, they are saying that this tiny PC, this Steam machine is 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck and has the power to play your whole Steam library, including your favorite AAA games and indie titles. Just sign into your Steam account and your entire library is there. Couple things to note: it is running SteamOS, an optimized version of Steam, to allow for better gaming performance, faster suspend and resume, and cloud saves. It is going to start with 512 gigabytes of SSD storage. You can also get 2 terabytes. Both come with an expandable storage option via micro SD cards. So if you get 512 and you're like, damn, that's not enough, you can always go get an SD card and boom, pop that in there, and way to go. Now, this is a cube. This is a pretty small cube. It is about 6 inches in size for this. It is a pretty tiny piece of hardware. It features a 1 gigabit Ethernet port, DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.0, 1 USB-C, and 4 USB-A ports in it. It is running a semi-custom AMD class CPU and GPU. You are expected to get about 4K resolutions at 60 frames per second with FSR. That is AMD's technology for managing resolutions and stuff like that. It is a 2x2 Wi-Fi 6E plus Bluetooth 5.3 with a dedicated antenna. The Steam controller's wireless adapter is built into the Steam machine for direct pairing. They also said no giant brick. The Steam machine power supply is built into the system. There's also an LED strip on the front of it. Like I said, it is a Steam machine similar to something like a Steam Deck. It is running Steam OS. Steam OS is designed to provide a plug-and-play user experience while keeping the power and flexibility of a PC. You can also install your own apps or even other operating system because it is still a PC. So if you wanted to take this and ruin it by putting Windows on it, you could do that, right? So by default, it is a PC. You can put Windows on it if you want, but if you're just looking to use it as a dedicated gaming machine, the Steam OS is great for that as well. Now, the other thing to note is that it does feature streaming capabilities. So if you would like to run the game on the Steam machine and then stream it to your Steam Deck or to the Steam Frame virtual reality headset, you can do that as well. The catch with this and so many other things that have been announced, no price. However, if you look at tech specs, it's a semi-custom AMD Zen 4 6C up to 4.8 gigahertz, 30 watts TDP, semi-custom, that's for the CPU. The GPU is a semi-custom AMD RDNA 3 with 28 CUs, 2.4 gigahertz max sustained clock speed, 110 watt TDP. RAM, you are getting 16 gigabytes of DDR5 plus 8 gigabytes of DDR6 VRAM. Like I said, internal supply for storage is 512 or 2 terabytes. This is pretty fucking rad. This is a couple of reasons why this is rad. One, if you wanted someone to get into gaming, if you don't have a PlayStation, if you don't have an Xbox or a Switch, or you wanted to get into gaming, PC gaming, but maybe wanted to do it a little more dedicated, from the comfort of your living room. You don't want to fuck with keyboards and mice and shit like that. This is, by all accounts, a true plug in and play solution for those looking for that, whether it be entry level gaming or someone being like, you know what, I am not going to be playing a lot of, competitive games, or I'm not going to be playing a lot of this or that, and I just want to kick back on the couch, and maybe this is a backup, PC or something like that. Again, it is running Steam, and it is a PC. You could put whatever operating system you want on it. I would suggest maybe sticking with the Steam, functionality, because that's going to be, that's going to be a lot better than what Windows currently has in stock. But the reason why I say, this is so rad is because I think this really forces the hand of, companies like Microsoft and Sony specifically, those two specifically, to be like, the era of putting a PC in your living room is here. I mean, in fairness, the hardware's not coming until 2026, but the era is here. Okay. This by all accounts is the future. Again, there's no price and the release date is just 2026. I'm just talking about the Steam machine for right now. But if this isn't a sign that Microsoft is going to need to figure out a way to make a Xbox friendly version of Windows when they make their next Xbox console that is supposedly a PC hybrid, like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, we're here, we're in it. Okay. Where were you on the day that all of this stuff became a reality? Because it is definitely looking like that from your friends at Valve. And I would say the same thing about PlayStation, man. One of the things we didn't talk about last week was that there is image and documentation in the PlayStation Store that is now talking about cross-buy. So the idea being that if you bought God of War Ragnarok on something like the PlayStation 5 digital store, that you would be able to get a cross-buy version that is PC. Now, cross-buy on PlayStation does not mean the Steam version of God of War Ragnarok or the Epic Games version of God of War Ragnarok. This is probably pointing to Sony eventually launching its own PC game store that would be compatible with cross-buy games, and so on and so forth, right? Because I think Sony realizes that if, people are playing Spider-Man 2 on the next Xbox because they can just get the Steam version, why not find a way to get a cut of that money, or a bigger cut of that money, by selling a PlayStation dedicated version through their PC gaming storefront. So again, the era of the shit is here, whether you like it or not. If you still want to play games hunched over a keyboard and mouse at a desk, that's not going anywhere, right? If you want to play games with a controller at your desk, that you've been able to do that for a very long time, that's not going to change. What is going to change is that this is the best possible sign that we've seen so far that a lot of PC gaming is moving to a hybrid style machine that is a box, whether it be a tiny cube like the Steam machine or something bigger, that can easily exist alongside your entertainment console in your living room. So that is the Steam machine. Again, no date other than early 2026. No price yet. Let's talk about the Steam controller. Again, the Steam controller designed to work with the games on your library. It is plug in and play with the Steam controller puck. The puck is a wireless transmitter. It is also a charging station. It features next generation magnetic thumbsticks, that is TMR technology. It features HD rumble. It also has grip enabled gyro sensors called grip sense. Hold and release to enable and disable gyro aiming. You can also map it like any other button if you want to. When you look at it on its face, it is a pretty standard looking controller. You have your AXYB on your face buttons. You have your D-pad. You have your two analog sticks. It also has the grips on the back. The other thing that it has is two track pads just underneath the analog sticks for someone that is playing maybe a, turn-based strategy game, a Civilization, or a real-time strategy game like a Age of Empires, something like that. There are also 4 buttons on the back. Like I said, the grip buttons, those can, there are the grip buttons that you can adjust. There are also 4 additional buttons on the back. So there are a ton of buttons on this thing, maybe too many. There's also a Steam button. The Steam button is the power button and the quickest way to navigate to your library. There's a quick access menu as well. It will work with anything running Steam. It'll work with a Steam Deck. It'll work with a Steam machine, and it'll work with a Steam frame. Again, no announcement on price for that just yet. 35 plus hours of gameplay battery life for trackpad gameplay with Steam frame is reduced. So let's talk about the Steam frame. That is the final thing that they have announced so far. No new Steam Deck. No new Steam Deck. Can't stress that enough. There's no information on a new Steam Deck. If you wanted a Steam Deck, go buy it. So the Steam frame is a VR and non-VR gaming headset. You can play, non-VR games on here as well, which means if you want to have a monitor, a display that you can just lay in bed and use, you can do that as well. It also would, one second here. It is streaming first. So it is streaming the games, to your, headset. It also supports standalone, play as well. It features, handheld controllers. They're called Steam frame controllers. They're designed with a split gamepad layout. That is motion controls and traditional button input as well. There's not too much to go off of. It is 256 gigabytes of storage, micro SD for expanded storage as well. No real idea of battery life. I think in the case of something like this, battery life is going to vary. It does feature a 4nm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 architecture, is the ARM 64 with 16 gigabytes of RAM. There is one USB-C 2.0 port in the rear for charging and data, and it charges with a 45 watt power. It is a 21.6 watt hours lithium ion battery. The display is a 2160 by 2160 LCD display per eye, and it supports 72 to 144 hertz refresh rate. It supports, it is custom pancake lenses, glass and non-glass optical elements, with a large FOV supporting about 110. The only thing is that I don't like wearing these any of these things with glasses. So I'm wondering if optical inserts are going to be available and stuff like that. For tracking, it does feature inside-out camera-based tracking, which means you do not need to put the lighthouses and the little, things like that in your room. Just turn it on. It'll draw the space for you if you're going to be standing up and stuff like that, and just away you go. That is 4 outward-facing monochrome cameras for controller and headset tracking, and 2 interior cameras for eye tracking. Monochrome pass-through via outward-facing cameras. IR illuminators for tracking and pass-through in dark environments. Dual speaker drivers per ear integrated into the strap, as well as dual microphone array, though I'm assuming that if you wanted to wear some sort of headphones and like traditional headphones, you can do that as well. Really, really cool stuff here. Again, I'm not a huge VR guy or AR guy in terms of what I'm personally needing and using at this time, but really cool stuff, especially in regards to, I think the controller looks awesome. I feel like that controller is like a no-brainer. Like I'll buy that controller, mess around with that controller and see what that's like. But I think that is really, really neat. That Steam machine is a cute little box thing, and that looks cool. But I imagine this stuff is going to be very hard to come by when it does eventually launch in 2026. If there's any other updated information, news, stuff like that, I will keep my eyes peeled on what's going on, and I will let you know, but no price for any of this stuff. Let's move on to what I thought was going to be the biggest news of the week. That Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed again to the end of 2026. Rockstar says, "We are sorry for adding additional time to what we realize has been a long wait." Now, we're going to talk about like 3 games on the show today that have long been in development and delayed, and well, most of them have been delayed. But I want to talk about Grand Theft Auto 6 for the most part. I really don't get some of the people that have this doom and gloom scenario when it comes to Grand Theft Auto 6. Because that is a real video game that is going to come out. If you think it's smoke and mirrors and stuff like that, I don't know what to tell you. I think the reason why you just see all these awful opinions about Grand Theft Auto 6's development is because it just is so prominent and is on the tips of everybody's tongue. But I would also like to point out that, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra has also been delayed. And it has been 7 years since The Elder Scrolls 6 was announced. And you just don't see people talking about those games the same way you do Grand Theft Auto 6. But I get it, right? People speak in meme. People frequently on social media and the internet at large talk about the lowest of low hanging fruit, and that's fine. I mean, what am I going to do? Tell people like police language? Like, who the fuck am I? The point is that Grand Theft Auto 6 will now release Thursday, November 19th, 2026. I'm sorry if you booked time off work to play it the day it came out, and now you got to change your work thing. But, that's probably a busy time of the year for a lot of folks, is around that, holiday period in November. So best of luck to you. Rockstar goes on to say that we are sorry for adding that additional time. These extra months will allow us to finish the game with the level of polish you have come to expect and deserve. I'm also going to point this out right now. There's a very, 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 they could delay this game for another year. Doesn't matter to me. There's a very good chance that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to launch with bugs. There's a chance that it's going to launch with performance issues, so on and so forth. And if you think that additional time like this is going to change that, I have a bridge to sell you, because it ain't happening, right? There will be bugs, right? In fact, I think the more they delay Grand Theft Auto 6, the more it puts a microscope on the game's performance and technical issues when it finally does release, right? Now, the problem is I think when people start to look at this with the microscope, they're not going to be giving Rockstar the benefit of the doubt. I don't think they're going to be doing it with positive intent. The reason I say that is because you look at a game like Skate 3, for example, just bear with me, or the new Skate, for example. Lots and lots and lots and lots of videos of buggy, weird glitches and physics and all sorts of stuff. And a lot of that is presented by the people who upload those videos and share that content as like just goofy celebratory nonsense, right? Oh, look at this. It's so weird, right? And in the past, a lot of the bugs and glitches you would have seen in previous Rockstar games were kind of also celebrated in that goofy way of like, oh, look at the horse woman or guy or whatever in Red Dead, or look at these Nico Bellic falling off of bike, memes and shit. I think now you just I think also the world has become a more cynical place, but also I think the more you do this, the more people are going to be like, was it worth this time? Like, for a game that might still have crashes and stuff like that, do they just paint a bigger target for the cynical dickheads of the world to be like, oh, it wasn't worth the time? Rarza in chat saying, at least there is a release date regardless of delay. Totally right. I mean, maybe people are a little burnt out because this is the second time they have given a hard release date, but to me, I'm fine with it. I mean, like, people get just so up in arms about Grand Theft Auto and the existence of it, as if they're like setting their watch to it. I set my watch based on daylight savings time. That's what I do, right? I don't set my watch based on the latest Rockstar game. And you probably shouldn't either. Go play something else. You will be fine. Go play something else in the meantime. And you'll survive. That being said, I mean, if you have ownership in shares of Rockstar Games and its parent company Take-Two, then yeah, you might be a little bummed out that you weren't getting the big payday that you were expecting in the same time frame because of the delay of the game. But Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be fine. It's going to be a good video game. It's okay. We'll breathe and turn this into an ASMR podcast, and we'll be fine. They also like showed trailers of the game. Like, it is a real video game. They showed trailers of it. It's real. It's not smoke and mirrors. Originally supposed to come out in May of 2026. Now coming out November 2026. But again, I want to take it back to Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, which they also showed one trailer for. Was originally supposed to come out in 2025. Was then delayed to early 2026, has now been delayed beyond early 2026, and they have had a lot less to show of it, and I think is much more likely to not be a real video game. Might sound cynical, might sound like this, oh, GnittWitt, give them credit. Skydance is probably cooking, hold up, let them cook. But back in May, they delayed it to early 2026. Now, in a statement posted on Twitter, Skydance Games has announced that the game has been delayed further to an unconfirmed release window. So they didn't even have a confirmed date. Say what you will about Grand Theft Auto 6, at least they're giving you dates, man. Even Tinder can't give you dates the same way that Rockstar Games can. Quote, at Skydance Games, our goal is to deliver unforgettable premium games that honor the characters and worlds that we're fortunate to work with. Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra is an ambitious project, and we are committed to ensuring it meets the level of quality that our team, players, and fans expect. To fully realize our vision for Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, we've made the decision to shift our release window beyond early 2026. We're grateful for our passion and support from our community and players around the world. The team is working hard to create something truly special, and we look forward to sharing more with you as our development progresses. But again, exactly to what Rarza said in chat, at least there's a release date regardless of the delay. Marvel 1943 doesn't even have that. Like, come on, man. Like, I think we just get a little twisted about like the doom and gloom nature of delays in video games. Yes, as a whole, the industry should probably be a lot better about not announcing a game until closer to final release. I'm all for that, right? Unfortunately, that's not how capitalism works, right? Capitalism wants to sell you the steak and the sizzle. In reality, all you want is that big juicy steak that is Marvel 1943, Rise of Hydra, or Grand Theft Auto 6. But in reality, they got to get, bean counters on board. They got to get business people. And they got to say, look, let's pump money into this thing and hype into this thing, regardless of when it actually is going to come out. Now, obviously, people like Amy Hennig, that was the writer and creative director of the first 3 Uncharted games, who is now working on Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, would probably wish this was a different scenario, right? Maybe she didn't, and her team didn't want to have this game announced in the state that it was. Maybe we could say the same thing for Rockstar. I don't know. But it has been delayed. There's no date, and that leaves me way more skeptical about the health and viability of that game compared to something like GTA 6. But let's take it even further. 7 years after it was announced, The Elder Scrolls 6 is still a long way off, according to Todd Howard. Now, The Elder Scrolls 6 will be Bethesda Studios' next major release, assuming they don't quit. They quit fucking around with Fallout 4 and Starfield. The Elder Scrolls 6 was announced at E3 2018 with a brief teaser trailer, which confirmed it was in pre-production at Bethesda Game Studios. Nothing has been seen of the game since, and now Bethesda Game Studios boss Todd Howard has said that fans shouldn't expect the game soon. Speaking to GQ, Howard said the game is still a long ways off, adding, I'm preaching the patience. I don't want fans to feel anxious. Howard also noted that he doesn't like announcing release dates for games and then having players wait a long time for that date to arrive, which is, hold on, before we get anywhere else into his statement, that's not the part I have the problem with. The part I have the problem with is announcing the existence of the game well before a date is even available, right? Like, announce a game, 6 months later, announce the dates, 6 months later, get that game out. Like, that's, like a 1 year hype cycle is probably even too long for some people, but that's a hell of a lot more reasonable than what we have right now. However, Mr. Howard says, I like to just announce stuff and release it. My perfect version, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, is that it's going to be a while and then one day the game will just appear, which that's not going to happen because there has to be a huge marketing and hype cycle for something like Elder Scrolls 6. It's the Elder Scrolls 6. Asked if he wanted Bethesda to shadow drop the Elder Scrolls 6 like it did with Oblivion Remastered, he replied, you might say that was a test run. It worked out well. Now, elsewhere in the interview, Howard claimed that Bethesda Game Studios has hundreds of people on Fallout right now with 76 and some other things that we're doing. One of the other things Howard is referring to, Video Games Chronicle understands, is a remaster of Fallout 3 similar to this year's The Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered. Howard has stated on a number of occasions that The Elder Scrolls 6 will be Bethesda's next brand new release, followed by Fallout 5. Asked if he regretted announcing The Elder Scrolls 6 so long ago, Todd Howard told GQ, back in 2023, I have asked myself a lot. I don't know. I probably would have announced it more casually. Commenting on what he'd like to achieve with the game, he said, it's like, I don't want to answer, but I want to be polite. I will say that we wanted to fill the role of the ultimate fantasy world simulator, and there are different ways to accomplish that given the time that has passed. This is where this is where I have the problem. It's not with GTA 6. It's and to even a lesser extent, it's not Marvel Hydra or Marvel 1943. It's this sort of like poking at the bear, hype train. Should I have said that? Did I do that? Sort of bullshit. Especially from a company like Bethesda that has burned so much goodwill with its fans over the years. Look, I really like Fallout 4. I think Fallout 76 is a good game. I think The Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered runs like garbage. Not a huge fan of that. I'm looking forward to whatever they do eventually. But as of right now, there is nothing to look forward to because none of it's real. None of it feels real. The same way even something like Grand Theft Auto 6 does. So my big problem with the way this industry operates, and maybe it's just, certain actors like Todd Howard and Bethesda, but just shut up, man. Just stop talking. Just stop talking. And if you say something and you regret it, be a little more upfront than being like, oh, maybe I should be more secretive next time, or maybe I should just shadow drop. Like, just, you know what I'm saying? Let's move on. PlayStation State of Play. They did a State of Play for Japan. It was a presentation for games from Japan and the rest of Asia. So if you thought maybe, hey, PlayStation doesn't represent the home, the motherland the way they could, here you go. It was a 40-minute showcase that featured 28 announcements for games from Japan and the rest of Asia. We're going to run through these as best as possible, and I apologize if I butchered the names of some of these games. Here we go. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. They showed a new gameplay trailer for Square Enix's latest RPG remake, along with a confirmed release date of February 5th, 2026. That is very soon. And I got to say, Dragon Quest VII looks awesome. Inko Baini, One Store Mini Stories. It was a new trailer for this indie simulation game set in the 1990s Japanese convenience store. It is set for release in April of 2026. Coffee Talk Tokyo. That is the third game in the Coffee Talk series where it is a barista themed visual novel. That looked really cool. And actually, this is maybe the most interesting Coffee Talk game I've seen so far. That is going to be coming out March 5th. Broken Lore Unfollow. That is the latest game of the Broken Lore series of horror games with a new trailer and a January 16, 2026 release date. Broken Lore Ascend, yet another Broken Lore horror game, this time tasking players with climbing the Tokyo Tower. It also got a trailer and a summer 2026 release window. Koei Tecmo is remaking Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly. That got a trailer, and we are getting a release date of March 12th, 2026. Fatal Frame, if you're not familiar, a horror game series focused on taking pictures. A lot of like photography and stuff like that in the Fatal Frame series, which makes sense based on the name. Dynasty Warriors Origins Visions of Four Heroes is DLC. Dynasty Warrior Origins, which you forgot was a 2025 game, came out in January, is getting its first paid DLC that's going to launch January 22nd of next year, including new stories, allies, weapons, and more. Gran Turismo 7 is getting something called a Power Pack DLC, and it is aimed at the more serious players of Gran Turismo 7. It includes authentic motorsport challenges, including real-time 24-hour races. So if you'd like to get into the Le Mans, 24-hour races, you can do that now with this Power Pack DLC. My only question is, when does that Power Pack DLC actually come out? December 4th, so pretty soon. Motion Wreck, this is an indie game about recording your movements and then playing them back at different points in the stage. Set to release in spring of 2026. Wandering Sword, which originally released on Steam a couple years ago, is a Chinese martial arts RPG coming to PlayStation 5 May 28, 2026, with all previous DLC included. No Sleep for Konami date from AI. The Somnium Files is a visual novel. It is the third entry in the series. It is coming out on Switch, Switch 2. Oh, sorry. It was released on Switch, Switch 2, and PC back in July. It is now coming out on PS4 and PS5, as well as Xbox Series X and S, February 26, 2026. Tokyo Extreme Racer has been roughly 20 years since the last console entry in the Tokyo Extreme Racer series. It is back and it's coming out February 26, 2026. Once Upon a Katamari is getting 2 DLC packs. It is going to get the Dance Dance remixes in November and the Neo remixes later this winter. Pac-Man World 2 Repack is getting Sonic the Hedgehog DLC. Digimon Story Time Stranger Episode Pack 1 DLC is coming to Digimon Story Time Stranger. Super Robot Wars Y Contract from the Darkness DLC coming out November 21st. Monster Hunter Wilds Title 4 update is the 4th free update for Monster Hunter Wilds, and it will be coming out December 16th. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds Sega DLC and SpongeBob SquarePants DLC coming out November 20th. The next free Sega crossover characters were also announced. That is going to be Knights coming in December, II from Super Monkey Ball, and Tangle and Whisper from Sonic coming out in 2026. Nevergrave, The Witch and the Curse. A release date has been confirmed for the witch-themed Metroidvania, March 5th, 2026. God, they announced a ton of stuff, man. That's just like banger after banger for the most part, especially if you're a fan of a lot of these RPGs and stuff like that. One of the big things was Marvel took on Fighting Souls. They showed off more of it. Showed off new Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. A closed beta will be available for the game December 5th to 7th. A new trailer was also revealed. Elden Ring Night Rain is getting DLC called The Forsaken Hollows. They also announced some new hardware. Sony has a new monitor. It will only be released in Japan and the US. It is a 27-inch monitor that features a 1440p screen with HDR support, as well as 240 Hz refresh rate with VRR support. It also includes a charging hook to charge the DualSense controller. Now, the other thing to note is this PS5 digital Japanese edition. This is getting a new, cheaper version of the PS5 digital edition. It will also be locked to Japanese language support only, and it will cost $355 in Japan. The reason they are doing this is because the yen in Japan is incredibly weak right now. It's hard times, Daddy, as Dusty Rhodes would say, for the Japanese yen, which means that they do not want this being exported to places like North America. So it is Japanese language support only, and it will be a lot cheaper than the current PS5 digital, which is currently $475 or 55,000 yen or 72,980 yen. That was pretty much everything Sony to say to play. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but look, I'm down for a lot of those games. I'm still curious about Sonic Racing Cross World. It's just that game launched at full price. I already own a little game called Mario Kart World, so I don't necessarily need 2 recent kart racers in my life, but I would definitely check out Sonic Racing Cross World whenever I get the chance. You might be asking, okay, so we got all these talks and things like that about, the future of PC hardware being this hybrid thing that exists in your living room. Xbox is out there with rumors and speculation and talk from them themselves about what to expect from, the next Xbox. But what about the PS5? Sony pretty tight-lipped about the PlayStation 6. And I think part of the reason why they're tight-lipped about the PlayStation 6 is because they want to sell PlayStation 5s. They would like to continue to expand the PlayStation 5 user base. And they probably recognize that even if a PlayStation 6 came out anytime soon, a lot of people are going to be playing PlayStation 5 games, but some of them, only some, might be playing those PS5 games on a PlayStation 6. And that's why they've actually straight up declined to comment on the PlayStation 6 plans. But they did talk about the PS5, kind of life cycle of the PS5. So in response to a comment, so Sony was asked about the PlayStation 5's expected lifespan and its plans for a successor during an earnings call on Tuesday. In response, during that earnings call, Sony CFO Lin Tao claimed that the PS5, which has now surpassed 84 million sales, is only in the middle of its lifespan, citing the high number of active users who continue to play on PS4 more than a decade after its launch. Last year, Sony Interactive Entertainment said about half of its monthly active users were still on PlayStation 4. Now, Tao said in Tuesday's earnings call, transcribed by Video Games Chronicles, as always, shout out to Video Games Chronicles, saying this year, in year 6 since the launch, PS5 has been growing its installed base, and our view is that compared to the conventional console life cycles and looking at the PS4 cycle, it seems to be getting longer and longer. Especially with the PS4, which launched in 2023, it's been over a decade since then, but there are many active users enjoying the console, and they're enjoying the other console too. And from that perspective, continuing on, and from that perspective, we believe that the PS5 is only in the middle of the journey, and we're really planning to expand it even further. As for its next-gen console, Sony would not comment on any plans. And as for future launches and successors, we are not in a position to make any comment about that, and that's all we have. Sony discussed its future console strategy in a business segment meeting this summer, in which it said it was committed to exploring a new and enhanced way for players to engage with games, and that the future of the platform is top of mind. Quote, "We cannot share further details at this stage. The future of the platform is top of mind. We are committed to exploring a new and enhanced way for players to engage with our content and services." And that is also following with reports saying that Sony plans for a PlayStation 6 that includes a Nintendo Switch style handheld with television docking capabilities. I don't want to be like too out there with speculation and stuff, but in a world where, Valve is already announcing, living room hybrid PC gaming machines, and Xbox is rumored to be doing that, is this the generation where, or is this coming generation, I should say, the generation where Sony sticks to being a traditional game console? Like, sure, you can have your handheld and your docking capabilities, but maybe Sony goes only as far as to say, hey, listen, you can buy our games on our PC launcher. You can, buy a PlayStation 6, but we're not doing the PC hybrid thing. Question in chat: did you cover Dispatch? I have actually not covered Dispatch at all. I've not had a chance to play Dispatch. I know that is, for folks who are very excited about playing a new game from like ex-Telltale developers and stuff like that, like Dispatch is the game, but I don't have it. I have not had a chance to play it. I think a friend of mine is picking Dispatch up soon, but it looks neat. I just haven't played it. Part of me was like waiting for all the episodes to come out. I think all the episodes for Dispatch have come out, if I am remembering that correctly. And then the other thing was, if Dispatch is a relatively shorter, adventure game, in terms of length, that might be something that I can finish up relatively quickly before the year is over. Last 2 episodes have come out now. How many episodes of Dispatch are there? So if you are familiar with the Telltale style games, it is an episodic game from the writers and directors of Tales from the Borderlands and The Wolf Among Us. How many episodes are there? Out of curiosity. 8 episodes. Okay, so 8 episodes total. It's about $40. $40, and it's 8 episodes long. That seems neat. Yeah, again, like, the idea of managing superheroes and that sort of Telltale, conversation stuff. It looks awesome. Gorgeous looking game. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I should. That was not immediately a game on my radar, Dispatch. I think partially it's because I think with the splintering of Telltale, I think some of those games have been a tad hit or miss, or just flown under the radar to some extent. I know people like, there are people that really love The Expanse. There are people that really love that Star Trek adventure game and stuff like that. But yeah, I think after Batman, after Telltale's Batman, which I only finished the first season of Telltale's Batman, I just kind of fell off with those games. I also think that, and I'm not dismissing it, I'm really not. Like, I think Dispatch looks rad, but I also think that, like, to some extent, the Supermassive have kind of eaten a lot of that lunch to some extent with the Quarry and Man of Medan and all of those style of games too. So it's almost like I've just kind of had my adventure game needs covered for a while since the disintegration of Telltale. But I think if there was a game to get me back into playing a lot more of those games, it would be Dispatch. So I should check that out, and you should check that out if you're listening and watching and have been like, what? New Telltale, associated game? That's the game for you. But what I was going to say about the PS, the PlayStation 6 is, like, Sony could very easily be like, no, we're going to go the Nintendo route of being a, play on the couch, play on the go, handheld style hybrid system, and ignore a lot of the PC stuff that Valve is working on and Xbox is working on. I think it would be a real shame, because I think there is opportunity for a more flexible system. But I do think that the more flexible your system becomes, the less likely people are to maybe buy some other, hardware offerings that you may be providing, or they may be finding alternative ways to buy your games, right? So we think about, again, an Xbox. If you go with a hybrid Xbox that's also a PC, what is stopping those people that are probably running some form of Windows from ignoring whatever Sony offerings on a Sony run PC gaming store when they could go buy it maybe for cheaper on Steam or Epic Games or whatever the case may be? I think it's not like Sony's generation to lose. Like, I would never say something that ridiculous that this upcoming generation is Sony's to lose. But is it, if everyone stops playing checkers and starts playing chess, is it in Sony's interest to follow along with this PC hybrid style option? It remains to be seen. That being said, Ghost of Yote sold 3.3 million copies in a month, and that was only available on PlayStation 5. That game has been a big success for Sony. That being said, it is roughly in line with the predecessors. So Ghost of Tsushima sold same amount of copies. Tsushima sold 2.4 million copies in its first 3 days and 5 million in 4 months. Ghost of Yote sold 3.3 in its first month. So there is the potential that, once it hits 4 months, it has surpassed that, but that remains to be seen. There is a caveat, though, that Tsushima was released later in the PS4's life cycle when it had a larger install base than the PS5 does. So there are less people out there to buy Ghost of Yote on their PlayStation 5, even if they wanted to. I, however, will happily wait for that game to eventually come to PC. On its 5th birthday, PS5 sales remain virtually neck and neck with the PS4. The PS5 has cleared 84 million units, 2 million behind the PS4 at the same stage, going into its 6th holiday season. Really not much to say beyond that. Nintendo has revealed the first trailer for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. With it, there's been some, confirmations of the cast and the crew that are going to be in that. Rosalina, who is from Super Mario Galaxy, will be in the movie. She will be played by Brie Larson, best known for playing Captain Marvel, and her Academy Award-winning performance in Room. Bowser Jr. will also be in it. Bowser Jr. will be played by Benny Safdie, the filmmaker and actor who wrote and directed The Smashing Machine and Uncut Gems, which is just such a a funny thing that the guy who made Uncut Gems is going to be Bowser Jr. I think that's cute. I can't complain. I have not actually watched the trailer yet, but the film is set to be released April 3rd, 2026 in the United States and many additional markets globally, and will arrive in Japan on April 24th, 2026. You know, I gotta be honest, there's something about the Mario Galaxy movie that I think has potential to be a better movie than the first one. Like, I have no way of proving this, but we'll see. I'm hopeful. I actually think that this could be a better movie than the first one. I don't think the first one's bad. I thought it was okay. But, sorry, I'm watching the trailer now, getting distracted. Anyways, Mario Galaxy, coming to a theater near you. Speaking of things not coming to you anytime soon, Halo Infinite was originally going to be a game that Microsoft and Xbox developed for 10 years. Support was going to last 10 years for Halo Infinite. 4 years into that plan, Halo Infinite is officially ending major updates, Halo Studios, and support for Infinite to focus on multiple development projects instead. The final update for Halo Infinite will be Operation Infinite, which will release on November 18th. As we look back on 4 years of evolution and updates in Halo Infinite, we'd like to thank our community for your steadfast support. Without your feedback and enthusiasm, Halo Infinite multiplayer would not be the special place it is today, a robust arena for slaying and playing with something for every Spartan. It added, with multiple Halo titles in development, we'll need our whole team's combined focus to deliver new experiences with the same passion and care that our community has given us. While we remain committed to supporting Halo Infinite on the road ahead, Operation Infinite is the last major content update currently planned. Halo Infinite has had a tumultuous time. It's had a tough road to hoe, if I may say so myself. But I think Halo Infinite is actually pretty good. It was just too little too late and not something that a lot of passionate Halo fans wanted. By the time it did come out, and it was missing a lot of features, co-op features, the multiplayer was not where it needed to be, but it had good bones. The problem is that good bones doesn't really last long in this day and age, especially if the community isn't there to rally behind it the way that, they could have been for Halo Infinite. Not like sandbagging the community. I get it, right? If Halo, a long-running franchise, is not what you want it to be, not what you need it to be, that is totally fine. But, Halo Infinite is a good game. That's what I'll say. I don't think this game is real. I know that's like cynical or crass or whatever, but I don't think this game is real. Let's talk about it. EA remains committed. What are they committed to? Telling more stories in the Mass Effect universe. Reassuring fans that Mass Effect 5 is still coming. I just don't see it, man. Like, yeah, they talk about it all N7 Day, on Friday, and, executive producer Mike Gamble provided a small update and talk about the TV show and all this stuff, but I don't see it, man. I just don't see it. Especially after downsizing, BioWare, the purchase of EA by Saudi Arabia that is still that's currently in process. I just don't see a world where a company that has $20 billion in debt after being sold to Saudi Arabia is going to be in a position to make much of anything that isn't already making billions of dollars. And that is not BioWare anything. That's not the Dragon Age games. It's not the Mass Effect games. Nothing BioWare does is going to make EA $1 billion. It's not going to help them get out of the $20 billion in debt. What is going to get them out of that debt is to slash and burn everything that you know and love about EA and just focus on soccer, football, all those sports titles. They're not even making Need for Speed games anymore. If they're not making Need for Speed games, do you think they're actually going to make a Mass Effect game anytime soon? Now, guess what? I'm going to hedge my bets and say, guess what? I would love to be wrong, and maybe I'll be wrong, and we can all just laugh and have a good time, whenever this Mass Effect game does come out. But I have my doubts. I can't stress enough. I do have my doubts. Like, EA still needs to operate, in a budget that allows them to make a profit. So they have to make a profit operating under their new regime, and then also get out of debt by $20 billion. How long do you think EA's leadership is going to how much time do you think EA's leadership is going to give that company to get out of that debt before they start saying, hey, we just don't need BioWare anymore. Hey, we just don't need Mass Effect. Hey, we're going to sell off studios, or hey, we're just going to shut down studios, or whatever. Right? Like, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me, GnittWitt, you're cynical. You should just hope for, just have hope, man. Just be Mr. Brightside, like the killer said. Like, just come on, man. But I don't see it. And the other thing is that the rumors are that next Mass Effect game might not even release until 2029. And I hate to be a bummer, but the sun will probably explode and kill us all well before 2029 comes around. Speaking of EA, man, EA is... Whoops, I grabbed the wrong article. 1 second. EA and the Skate team have been out there talking about, Skate, and them saying, hey, it's a tough road to hoe, man. We hear you. We're out there trying to make it happen and all of this stuff. They said, we're here for the tough love. The Skate studio acknowledges that players have been having issues since launch, saying things have not gone as smoothly for some of you as we would have liked. This was in a blog post attributed to the entire Full Circle team. The studio said it wanted to thank the tens of millions of players who have played the game since its early access release starting on September 16th, stating we're also here for the tough love. Things have not gone as smoothly for some of you as we would have liked. A lot more, we're talking millions of players, joined us in the first 3 weeks than we expected, saying that they got more people playing than we expected. And with that came bugs, glitches, progression locks, and performance issues. Explaining that the game still isn't a finished product, the studio added, making Skate is a balancing act between delivering the fresh content from our roadmap, improving the overall player experience, and addressing your live feedback. We're tweaking and fixing the game, some of it on the fly and some of it as part of our long-term improvements, but things will continue to change and improve. We all want Skate to be great, and working with you, our community, to fine-tune the player experience during early access is the way we get there. The studio said it has identified several areas where players are experiencing soft lock and progression issues, noting that, unfortunately, each of the issues is unique and requires a different solution. Full Circle says these issues are top priority for our team. The team says it also recently updated the game to resolve system overload and errors when our daily tasks reset. It then gave the game an example of a recent issue with a task that it fixed quickly, but warned that not all solutions would be as prompt. Saying you should see fewer errors, but there are still a few slip-ups. For example, our trick of the day spread eagle task wasn't working. Thanks to your quick flags, we got it up and running within a few hours. We can't promise every new fix will be that quick. As your reports come in, our team is reviewing them and working to make things right ASAP. This is where the apology comes in. As a way to partially atone for the issues, all players will be receiving 2,000 ticks and 500 SVBs to use in-game. As long as they log in before the start of Season 2 on December 2nd, Players will have to spend their ticks in ticks in the skate pass before season 1 ends. So ticks are the currency that you use in the skate battle pass, and the SVBs are the premium currency that you can buy with real money. They wrap that up by saying, we're truly grateful for your patience as we improve, grow, and evolve Skate during early access. We wouldn't be here without you, the incredible Skate community. So keep sharing your feedback. Your bugs and issues were on the case and will only get better from here. Here's my problem. They totally nuked the progression in that game. They slowed down your ability to earn the free currency unlocks and stuff like that in the game. Like, totally kneecapped it. Totally kneecapped it. You're already doing the same bullshit tasks every single day, every single week. Why not just let people earn the free stuff at the pace that they already have? They slowed it down. That drives me crazy. I'm not particularly like stoked about the state of Skate. I will admit that right here, right now. I wasn't when that game first launched, and I'm still not now, and them kind of apologizing and tossing out a couple of measly bucks in currency doesn't really make a difference. The fact is that that game, despite being in early access, should have launched a hell of a lot better than it even is right now. So if they want to, if they want to fix this game, they need to find the soul of Skate and apply it to this game on top of the wealth of technical issues that game has been experiencing. We'll see if they can do that. Final news story. This is from an analytics firm that has listed 18 games ripe for remake or remaster success, saying that IP holders are sitting on a wealth of content. This is from Ampere Analysis, which has identified 18 games. This was the same company that said that video game consumers spend twice as much on remakes as remasters. And they came up with some games that would be ripe for remaster, remakes, or both. Let's run through them, shall we? For remake, they are saying that these games are prime for full remakes. Okay? Assassin's Creed, Chrono Trigger, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Fallout, Rayman Origins, Resident Evil 5, and Uncharted: Drake's Fortune. That is the first Uncharted game. And for Fallout, they just say Fallout. I don't know if they mean the original Fallout or just Fallout in general or what. For remaster, they are saying Batman Arkham Origins, which, if you don't know Arkham Origins, it is the third. How can I say this? So the Batman Arkham trilogy is Batman Arkham Asylum, City, and Night. There was also a game called Batman Arkham Origins, which is the third game in the series, technically. It was not made by the original people who made Batman Arkham City and Asylum and Night. That was not made by Rocksteady Studios. This was instead made by WB Games Montreal. It is a younger Batman. The main story is set 8 years before Arkham Asylum. A bounty is placed on him by Black Mask and is drawing 8 of the world's greatest assassins to Gotham City to hunt and kill Batman on Christmas Eve. It's a really cool setting and premise. It just didn't do much that hadn't already been seen by the other 2 Batman games, especially Batman Arkham City. That being said, it is not available anywhere else. You can't play it on PlayStation 4 or 5 or whatever, unless you have a PS3, 360, or a PC. You can't play Batman Arkham Origins, which to me makes total sense as to why it would be right for a remaster. I just don't know if anyone is really asking for a Batman Arkham Origins remaster, considering no one was really asking for a Batman Arkham Origins game when it actually came out. I will say, going back to the topic of Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed has changed a ton in the years since it came out, the original Assassin's Creed game. So I think a remake kind of taking it back to its stealth roots could be something cool, but I'm not too sure. Resident Evil 5, I'm going to say this about Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 has become a somewhat problematic game since its launch. And the reason for that is because in Resident Evil 5, which takes place after 4, I believe, and all of that stuff. I just want to pull up some details here about 5 because I want to get my story straight. I'm going to reference it on Steam here. Basically, the story of Resident Evil 5 is that the Umbrella Corporation has now started to spread, the viruses all across the world, right? The G virus, your T virus, all that shit is being spread throughout the world, right? You play as Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 5. You are sent to Africa to investigate a biological agent that is transforming the populace into all those, creatures and stuff. Here's the problem with Resident Evil 5. You play the game as Chris Redfield, and then you spend most of the time shooting black people in Africa. They're under the virus and all of this stuff. But if you just look at what you do in Resident Evil 5, you run around Africa as Chris Redfield shooting black people. And listen, I'm not saying Resident Evil 5 is even a bad game or any of that stuff, but that's what you do in that game for the most part, is shoot black people as Chris Redfield. That being said, definitely ripe for a full-on remake. You could change a lot about Resident Evil 5 make it not be exactly as I've described it. But that's what you do in Resident Evil 5. Under remaster, it is Batman Arkham Origins, Bloodborne, which absolutely, Bully, which I think with Bully is the high school open world action adventure game by Rockstar, the Grand Theft Auto people. That could be prime for a remaster. It could also be prime for a remake. It really depends on how far they want to take it. Dragon Age Origins, absolutely prime for a remaster, 100%. The Elder Scrolls Morrowind is so old that you could almost just remake it at this point. Fallout New Vegas probably needs a little more TLC than just a remaster, but yes. Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't think you need a remaster of Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't think so. I think you just, do a little bit of work for a PS5, Xbox Series X and S version, put it out, and away you go. Now, there are a couple of games on here that are remake or remaster. Those games being the 2005 God of War game for PlayStation 2, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, Far Cry and Legend of Zelda The Ocarina of Time 3D. Yeah, I don't think you do a remake of God of War 2005. I think you remaster that game and, because it is so different than God of War now. But putting a lot of money and effort into a remake of that, I just don't see it. With Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, the rumors are that it is more of a remake than a remaster. Far Cry, again, is a scenario where that game has changed a lot, but still been the same, since then. I think retaining the original state of Far Cry in a remaster is probably more valuable than a remake, but I'm not too sure. With Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, that game could probably benefit from more of a remake than a remaster, considering they've already remastered it for the 3DS. But who can say? So again, remakes, we have Assassin's Creed, Chrono Trigger, The Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, Fallout, Rayman Origins, Resident Evil 5, and Uncharted Drake's Fortune. For remaster, it's Bloodborne, it's Batman Arkham Origins, it's Bully, Dragon Age Origins, The Elder Scrolls Morrowind, Fallout New Vegas, and Red Dead Redemption 2. And for remake or remaster, it's God of War 2005, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, Far Cry, and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. These are the games that Ampere Analytics say are ripe for remake or remaster success. Do you agree? What games would you put under a remake or remaster tier? I would love to know if you have any ideas. We are going to take our break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the games that I have been playing. Stick around. We will be right back. Welcome back to the podcast. I continue to be GnittWitt, and we continue to talk about video games. I should have checked to see if there's any other breaking news since the announcement of the new Steam console controller and stuff like that. They're making a new Ratchet & Clank game coming to free to play. It's free to play and it's coming to mobile. Great. Let's talk about the games that I've been playing. I am trying to finish up Hades 2, man. That is like my main goal, is like wrap up these games, start working on a game of the year list, like really start to, buckle down and have something that I can show for that's like, hey, I have finished these games. These are my favorite games of the year, and so on and so forth. I've been working on that list slowly but surely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm probably missing some. I'm almost certainly missing some. Oh yeah. So like working on Hades 2. I just started Sacred 2 Remaster. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Still need to finish Final Fantasy Tactics. Call of Duty is out next week. There's a lot of stuff for me to, keep going through and finishing. I haven't been able to finish it up, but I'm trying to take it one game at a time, and Hades 2 right now is the game for me. You know what? Let's just talk about it. Spoilers for Hades 2. For where I'm at in the story. Spoilers for Hades 2. If you really want to avoid it, keep on going. But let's talk about Hades 2. I have defeated Kronos, the Titan of Time. But like anyone who can manipulate time, Kronos keeps coming back. So, with the run-based nature of Hades 2, Kronos keeps coming back, and I keep needing to kill Kronos. So by killing Kronos, you basically dispel him from the realm for a certain period of time, and you are able to go back in time as Melinoe and meet your brother Zagreus, who is the main protagonist from the first game. And every night if you defeat Kronos in the boss battle, you can meet Zagreus, and you two basically throughout space and time and all this stuff are able to talk to each other briefly about how you plan on getting rid of Kronos for good. You spend a lot of time convincing Zagreus that this is real. He's not dreaming. You're real and all this stuff. Basically, you only have a couple of minutes to talk to Zagreus about how you plan on defeating Kronos before he starts to come back, and you have to escape back into the realm and basically do that, run up to the boss battle and all that stuff over again. So I think there is a number of how many times you have to do it, and I'm probably like 2 or 3 runs away from having a big major story realization or moment of how we're going to defeat Kronos for good. But my understanding is that there is a lot more to this game than I have even, touched yet, because there is a second dungeon that you can run. You spend time going into the underworld to defeat Kronos, but there is a second realm that you can go into that is the mortal human realm. Unfortunately, where I'm at in the story now, the main character cannot stand to be in the mortal realm for too long without dying. So I've not successfully even completed one run up in the mortal realm because of basically you just burst into flames and die after a short period of time being amongst the humans. But you can survive in the mortal realm, which is what you need to go through to beat Kronos, the Titan of Time. That is kind of it for like story spoilers and stuff like that for Hades 2. That's where I'm at in the story. I'm assuming that I'm like maybe halfway done, but could be a lot more, could be a lot less. I'm not too sure. Still enjoying my time with the game. I still think that Hades 2 is maybe a little too much for my taste. It's like too much of a good thing is bad for your health. And I just feel like Hades 2 is a little too rich for how I feel about that game coming off of the first game and stuff like that. But still really enjoying Hades. I would like to finish it. I might even start streaming it at some point and just be like, hey, let's just sit down and play this for the next like 2-3 hours and see how far we get with finishing the story in that game. It remains to be seen how close I am really to finishing Hades, but it could be 1 stream, 2 streams, hell, maybe even 3 streams. I'm not too sure. The new game that I have been playing is an old game. It's an old video game. Whoops, mic vibrations and stuff. It is an old video game called Sacred 2. Now, if you've heard of Sacred 2, you are probably old. And if you haven't heard of Sacred 2, you could still very well be old, but, maybe not that old, or maybe older. It's hard to say. Sacred 2 is a 2008 action RPG, and it is a, kind of 3D dungeon crawling action RPG, very much in line with, games like Diablo and stuff like that. Originally came out in 2008. There was a PC for PC, then came to consoles in 2009 on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. That's where I played Sacred 2. Thing about Sacred 2 is it is a massive open world. It is huge. It is about 22 square kilometers, including dungeons and caves and stuff like that. It is a massive open world. There are 2 campaigns, a light campaign and a shadow campaign. You pick your character class. You choose to whether you want to be good or bad. Some characters can only be good. Some characters can only be bad. And you go about playing through the game. There are side quests and all sorts of stuff as well. It is a kind of janky, kind of budgety sort of game. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Sacred 2 was a bad video game. It's maybe more of a guilty pleasure, if I'm being honest, right? This is a empty calorie, junk food ass video game as far as I'm concerned. And I like it. I think I really enjoy Sacred 2, but if I really sit down and think about it, I don't think Sacred 2 is some amazing video game. That being said, put a lot of hours into it between PlayStation 3 and 360. I really enjoy it, but it is not a game that I'm immediately going to recommend to a bunch of people, okay? This is a game that got a 71 out of 100 for the PC version of the game. Did not fare quite as well with the console versions, which were kind of busted and even more janky than the original game, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Let's talk about this remaster. This remaster just came out yesterday. I played a little bit of it, and I want to cover kind of what they said they did to this game. Let's kind of talk about what they did. It includes all the expansions and updates for the game, smoother, more responsive combat, a modern menu system with full controller support on both PC and consoles, enhanced textures, lighting effects, and view distance, as well as community-driven fixes and improved stability. Currently, this game has 508 reviews on Steam, and it is mixed. That is what people are saying. You can't move. People are criticizing you can't move while your inventory is open. There's less inventory space, less weapon slots, no offline multiplayer, no free play, stuff like that. And here's the thing. Absolutely, Sacred 2 Remaster brings with it new problems that did not exist in the original game. It also brings improvements that also weren't in the original game. But if I'm being brutally honest, the Sacred 2 Remaster is about what I would have expected from a original game the quality of Sacred 2. Like, the remaster of Sacred 2 is about as janky and fucked up and not amazing as Sacred 2 originally was when it came out. That's my opinion, that the quality of the remaster matches the quality of the original game. Now, for the most part, I've been kind of enjoying myself again. It is very much video game junk food of just roaming through the open world, fighting enemies, doing, tedious, meaningless side quests, getting better loot and upgrading my character and doing all of those things. But like, I wouldn't drop everything to play Sacred 2 in any other scenario. It would be hard for me to recommend Sacred 2 to a lot of people originally without massive caveats and explanations and things to look out for and things to be considerate of. And I would say the same thing about the remaster, other than it is a modern version of the game for you to play with controller support, which I actually really appreciate. I've been playing it on PC with controller. But hey, guess what? The game that was kind of janky and messed up when it originally came out now has controller support on PC, and that controller support is kind of janky and messed up on PC. So it's just like, this is just Sacred 2, man. There was never going to be a world in which this game was going to have some amazing remaster of mind-boggling quality and stuff like that. Yeah, they put out a thing being like, hey, we hear you, the team that made it hear you, and we're going to work on crashes and memory leaks, and there's apparently a PS5 issue and sound issues and video issues and minor bug fixes and improvements. But like, this is it, man. Like, and I paid like $25 for this or whatever. I paid $25 or whatever when it came out, and yeah, it's fine. Like, it's not amazing. It was never going to be amazing, but for what I come to Sacred for, this is okay. It's still probably better than Sacred 3, which was not at all like the original Sacred game. So that's something to keep in mind. There was also Sacred Citadel, which was a beat 'em up that I never played, that doesn't do me any good. But that's kind of where I'm at. I got to really, buckle down and finish up Hades 2. We're going to stream some Hades 2 at some point, and try to beat that game, mess around with Sacred 2. And also, I did start a new character in the Outer Worlds 2. A lot of 2s going on today. Apparently there was some updates to Outer Worlds 2. I haven't actually seen what those updates are just yet, but gonna probably mess around with more Outer Worlds 2 at some point. There was an update that came out. What does it do? Major issues. They fixed a ton of stuff. Like, it's a massive, massive list that I'm not going to bother reading through, but there is a lot of stuff that they fixed. I wonder if they fixed anything in regards to like performance, in terms of just like frame rate and stuff like that. I'm not too sure. I'm trying to scroll through this list. It's a lot. It's so much stuff that they have done in this November 11th update. I'm just trying to scroll through audio, UI, animation, art, combat and system fixes. Player will no longer mimic reloads when entering the player ship with no ammo. Well, that's nice. Content and quests. Latin American localization support for achievements. There's a bunch of like story quests that they fixed that have spoilers in them, so I can't read that. Anyways, there's a bunch of stuff that they fixed. I might mess around with it, see how it goes. They did make a new character, so there's that. But that's where I'm at for gaming right now. I really got to finish, Hades 2. Might mess around a little bit more with Sacred 2. Might mess around a little bit more with the Outer Worlds 2. But man, oh man, huge gaming news and stuff, especially out of Valve. That is just absolutely crazy. Really, really exciting to see that new hardware from them. Hopefully it's great. Hopefully it's affordable. Probably won't be, but we won't know until later on, because that's not coming out until 2026. That is going to do for the podcast. I have been GnittWitt. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree. That is linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt. I am on Twitch, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, and this podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you all next week. Also got to play Call of Duty. I totally forgot. We'll see you all next week. Take it easy.